What are you guys doing here anyways? My name's Jim Frazier. Hi, I'm one of the pastors. So I guess this is called the Pastor Talk. This song is semi-autobiographical. I did date the preacher's kid when I was in high school, so that part of it is true. Sunday school is over, it's time to go to church. Just like a homing pigeon flying to my favorite perch. I'm sitting on the back row just as far as I can be from the preacher and the choir with their introits done and see. I got the Sunday morning sitting on the back row of the sanctuary blues. From the place I'm sitting, I got a perfect view of every single person and every single pew. I can see who isn't listening, see who goes to sleep. And all the time I'm talking to the girl who's next to me. I got the Sunday morning sitting on the back row of the sanctuary blues. I dare to do the scriptures, the announcements and the songs, thinking about the dances we could do to ask along. And halfway through the morning prayer, I remember Friday night, the day that I had a preacher kid was really out of sight. I got the Sunday morning sitting on the back row of the sanctuary blues. Well, the preacher gets excited, he starts to talk aloud. He says something about somebody coming back on a cloud. I don't know what he's saying, it don't bother me. I haven't missed a single week since 1983. Some people say that going to church is just a waste of time. Time they could be better spent on a country club for a night. Church is not a waste of time, at least it's not for me. I even wrote this song during the doxology. I got the Sunday morning sitting on the back row of the sanctuary blues. I got the Sunday morning sitting on the back row of the sanctuary. Said I'm talking about the back row of the sanctuary blues. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for coming out. We really thought it was going to be me and my wife, Rhonda. So you have exceeded my expectations, and appreciate you being here. As I said, my name is Jim Frazier, and I've been in the church. I was hired here September 1st, 1996. And so I'm in my 28th year, I guess, here. I was 15 when I was hired. Anyways, I was born and raised in Lexington, Kentucky. I'm blue through and through, Wildcat fan. I went to Southern Hills United Methodist Church. And so when I was looking for a church, I said, what's closest? So I'll go to Vestavia Hills on Kentucky Avenue. That's why I was hired. That's what sold it for me to be here. Anyways, I had my parent. I had an older brother, Chuck, who looks just like me. He's 2 years older, and my parents passed away before I was 50 years old. I had my wonderful wife, Rhonda. I had 2 children. My daughter, Ashley, is 30, getting ready to turn 34. My son, Jared, has just turned 30, and Ashley has 2 children. Reese is 6, and Ari is 5, and then my son, Jared, has a little daughter, Hazel, who's going to be 3 this year. So that is my family, and I played football for the best football school in a basketball state. So figure out what the best basketball team is in Alabama in high school, and that will tell you how I had to live. So nobody cared. So if it wasn't basketball in Kentucky, nobody cared. But we won the state championship my junior year, and we only lost like 5 games the whole time I was in high school. So we were very good. I did go to the Kentucky Derby in 1979. I had to work it, but I did get to it. And I got to meet several celebrities. I had to work the gate where the celebrities came in, so that was really cool. So that was a good day. And my wife and I own a car. It was from the TV show Happy Days. It's a 1950 Chevy convertible that was featured on the TV show Happy Days. It's not like it is the actual car. People ask us that all the time. And so we do actually have it. We were able to get it through her father, who collects antique cars and stuff. So we do, if you want to, we've met Fonzie, we've met Ralph Mouth, and we've met Mr. C. Whenever they came through town. We had our pictures with him and stuff, so that was kind of cool. So there you go. That's my personal background. My calling to ministry. I guess, started at summer camp up in Kentucky. It was called Aldersgate. And believe it or not, the lifeguard my first year there was Bishop Debbie Paget, was my lifeguard at the camp. So I've known her since I was 15 years old. And so that was kind of cool. When she was down here and stuff with it, she would come work out most mornings with me down in the lighthouse. She would walk down from her house down there. So that was kind of cool. But also my senior year at summer camp, the director was a guy named Bill Moore. And Bill Moore had just started at the University of Kentucky Wesley Foundation. Does everybody know what a Wesley Foundation is? It's the church on campus. It's where the United Methodist Church was on campus there. So I got involved. So with him starting there, I got involved with him. They did music. They played a lot of music, and they traveled around. They had to raise money. The Methodist Church only paid for about half of what it cost for a Wesley Foundation. So the rest of it had to be raised by the pastor. And so we would travel every week and go around to different churches and sing and dance and that sort of thing. So that's a lot where I learned. That's where I learned the song "Back Row Blues." It's from Bill Moore. A funny story from that is, after I left Southern Hills years later, Bill became the senior pastor there. And so that was kind of neat that he ended up being the senior pastor at my home church. So anyways, I was, my senior year, he said, "Jim, I want you to be a student associate minister." And I said, "What is that?" He said, "I don't know, but you're it." So my senior year, I was helping him with the Wesley Foundation stuff. And in the springtime of my senior year, my home church called and said, "Jim, our youth minister just quit. He was married to a wife, his wife worked at IBM, and guess what? What happens at IBM? I've been moved." Yeah, so they got moved. They needed somebody for 3 months just to fill in. So they asked me, and I said I'd be glad to do it. And all I can tell you is those are the greatest 3 months of my life. I don't know how to explain it to you, but it was, when you find something that is just perfect for you, it's the most wonderful thing in the world. And I knew, beyond a shadow of a doubt, after being there for those 3 months, that I wanted to be in the ministry. And so I had a job at the Kentucky Historical Society waiting on me. I worked my way through college and worked my way through seminary. And me and Rhonda, it took us 10 years. I'm the only person who ever paid for seminary. No other pastors ever paid for seminary, just so you know. I had to. But anyways, that's another story. But I was the first person in my family to go through college. And so I loved history. So I got a degree in history and a minor in philosophy. Well, guess what that was perfect for? Ministry. Absolutely perfect for ministry. With the history, philosophy stuff worked perfect. So that was God working in my life even then. And so when I graduated, I went to Asbury Seminary, right down the road in Wilmore. And the first day of seminary, in one of my classes, a teacher stands up and says, "Anybody here need a job?" Yeah. I don't know how I'm paying for this, okay? I have no idea. So he said, "There's a church down in Versailles, Kentucky, and they need a children's minister. And if you go down there, go talk to them." Well, I was hired as a children's minister, and for those 3 years, I worked in that church while I was going to seminary. That helped me pay for my seminary. But also, it gave me experience, hands-on experience as I was going through seminary to try things out in the church. Once again, God working in my life to help me. So, when I graduated seminary, we ended up, my wife and I, Rhonda, we got married for senior year, right at the beginning of the senior year into the junior year or whatever. We had a year there at Versailles. But you have to wait a year after you graduate in order to be ordained, consecrated, whatever you're going to be in that. So the jobs in Kentucky were not that great, the options for us. So we found a job in Greenville, South Carolina. And so I was going to be what's called a diaconal minister, all right? Everybody raise your hand if you know exactly what a diaconal minister is. Anybody? Y'all are ahead of the game if you know. In 1976 to 1996, United Methodist Church came up with a role for people who did not want to be pastors, who did not want to be a part of that itinerant system, but had a calling to ministry. Could be evangelists, could be missionaries, could be youth ministers, could be recreation ministers, Could be doctors and nurses. If you had a calling to ministry, you didn't have to work in the church. You could work anywhere. That would be representative of this. Diaconal means diakonia, which means servant or servanthood. And it's represented by Jesus washing the disciples' feet, that Jesus was a servant leader. Okay? And so that's what I was. And so my mom, though, bless her heart, she never could understand that I went to the seminary and I was consecrated a diaconal minister. She would tell people, I went to the cemetery, I got constipated, and I became a diaconal minister. And I was consecrated on June the 6th, 1989 at Spartanburg, South Carolina, Wofford College. Bishop Bethea was a brand new bishop. I was being diaconal, I got to go first before all the ordinands and stuff did. So I was the very first person he ever laid hands on to do the things. So I'm up there and he says, my name is James Willard Frazier. He says, I confirm you, James Willard Frazier. Yeah. So my family had a lot of fun with that for a while. So I was James Willard Frazier. So anyway, I worked for a little while in South Carolina at a nice church called Trinity United Methodist on Augusta Road. And after a year or so or something, my home church called. And they said, and my home church was one of the larger churches in Kentucky. And they said, we'd love to have you on staff up here. Well, let's think about that. Me and Rhonda thought about 5 seconds on that. And we moved back home. And we were home for about 5 years. And during those 5 years, both our children were born. Isn't that nice? Once again, God working in our lives, that both our children were born in Lexington from all our different travels. And so I worked at Southern Hills United Methodist Church for a while. And then we moved on from there down to Florida, where I ran the Warren Willis Camp in Leesburg. It's like Camp Sumatonga. It's about the same sort of thing down there. Anybody been to Leesburg to Warren Willis Camp? Yep. Did you ever go on the walk through the woods on the little trail?
It was so long ago when I was on a choir tour with Palmerdale Methodist.
Okay.
Taking a stop there.
Okay. Well, anyways, that was, while I was there, there's a trail back in the woods, a walking trail that I literally did. Rhonda helped. So we actually dug out through that swamp area. We made that trail down there. From there, we moved up here. We went to Forest Lake United Methodist first in Tuscaloosa and T-Town. And they had a job that was recreation ministry and youth ministry. Always be careful when they label jobs. It was supposed to be mainly recreation with a little youth with it. Okay? It was 99.9% youth and 0.1% recreation. And so I was pretty miserable while I was there. And one day, Nina Reeves, if you don't know who Nina Reeves is, she's a legend in this conference. And I've known her for many years. And she called me one day. She was the youth person for the conference like 40 years. She ran Sumatonga. She did all those incredible things up there. She said, Jim, I've been thinking. I said, great. She goes, you're being wasted there at Forest Lake. I said, you need to go to Vestavia Hills. And I said, where is Vestavia Hills? She said, you need to call Ted Leach and you tell him that I said you all need to talk. She said, I really think that you would be better served to be at Vestavia needs you with the recreation stuff and things up there with it. So I called Ted Leach. So I said, my name is Jim Frazier. Nina Reeves told me to call you. He said, well, if Nina Reeves told you to call me, come and talk. Let's talk about it, And the rest, for some of you, the rest is great history. For some of you, the rest is, miserable history. But that's how I ended up being on staff here at Vestavia. And I've been here since, like I said, since September 1st, 96. And where we're sitting right here was the old gym. Had a big ceiling in here. That was they used to have worship in here and different things, but it was the old gymnasium. Had windows up over here and things. And I walked in and I didn't know what to do. It was Hoosiers. Have y'all seen the movie Hoosiers? This has not been touched since the 50s. It had the old scoreboard and everything up there. had a goal down there and a goal there, not a safety, anything in sight, this entire place. Sharp corners everywhere and all sorts of things. So they generously gave me $10,000 budget that first year. So I looked around and I knew if I was going to do some recreation ministry here and stuff that it had to be changed. And so I talked to Brad Kimbrough, who was the head of finance at the time. I said, can I spend it all at one time? He said, if you want to. And I said, okay. So I fixed up the gym. I bought some more goals. I put padding everywhere. I got all sorts of things in here that I could literally safely do some recreation ministry. And it apparently went okay. Because within, this was 96, I don't know if Billy might have been in the meeting when there was a meeting, I think in 97 or something like that, where the good Dr. Mickey Morgan thought he was going to be getting a new sanctuary. And they had a meeting in Tyson Hall over here. I was sitting down in my office down there. I knew nothing about what was going on. They were going through a list of things on what they were going to build next, a big building campaign. Next thing I know is somebody walks down from the meeting, opens my door, and says, Jim, can you build a Christian Life Center? Sure, yeah, I can do that. I knew somebody who could do that. So I said, sure, we can do that. So something happened. It went from being number 6 on the list that day to being number 1. And they, for whatever reason then, we spent 3 years building the lighthouse, me and Dennis Flowers. We were the entire building committee. He knew everything about heating and air conditioning and those sort of things. I knew everything about programming and how it was going to be run. So luckily, Mickey decided and the other people said, we don't need anybody else on that committee. The two of y'all just deal with it. The architects said it was the smoothest project they ever had. Because they didn't have to go through, 15, 20 people all making different decisions on it. So, anyways, in August 20th of 2000, we opened the lighthouse. And it was, everything went well. We got involved with a thing called Upper Sports. We did, what else did we do there? We did, if you want to learn about it, I'll say this. We had our 20th anniversary during the pandemic. The nice thing about it, though, was that because of the pandemic, we couldn't do a normal celebration like what we want to, but we did a video. So I got all these different people together, and we sat down, and they shared stories about the lighthouse, about what had happened there. So you can go on YouTube, underneath our accounts and stuff, and there's a 20th anniversary video about the lighthouse. And it'll tell you all the history and all the wonderful things that have gone on there. So, around 2013, we had talked about this. Well, I'll say one other thing about the lighthouse. We also did a thing called servant evangelism out of the lighthouse. Went up to a church up in Cincinnati, a Vineyard Church, and they did these wonderful mission things where they would go out to the community and just help people, just do things for them, just for the sake of helping them. And they found out something. If you help people, they ask you about your church. They said, why are you? That's part of the reason, if y'all heard about our Christmas Eve, where we go serve the workers up at Brookwood Hospital, that's where all that came from our servant evangelism. We were going around doing mobile rec ministry. We were going to smaller churches, going to camps and things, I've rented moonwalks, we do all kinds of things, do music, dance, and everything. And 2 things happened. One is, some church members got together and bought a moonwalk. They said, Jim, you need your own moonwalk. We were renting one every weekend and stuff. They said, let's just buy you one. The second thing was that they bought me a bread truck. We got a Golden Flake bread truck. We turned it into what we call the MRV, the mobile rec vehicle. And we drove that thing all over the state. We would go to all sorts of places. We'd load it down with all sorts of things. We would do anything you needed to do to do ministry. And it's up in Camp Sumatonga now. We donated it a few years ago. But we went all over the place in that. And so that was a neat ministry that came out of the lighthouse. Anyways, around 2011, I went to a body recall training with Barbara Lee up in Kentucky. And after that, we got to talking a little bit. A couple things happened. I went to another workshop somewhere, and they started talking about baby boomers and how baby boomers are going to start retiring in 2011. How 70,000, you know, or something, we're going to start retiring that year and things, and how it's going to be this big boom. Things going to happen with the older adult ministry. So I started talking to Barbara Lee, and she was about ready to retire anyways. And so we started talking about things, and we talked to Bill and stuff. And so when she retired in 2013, I took over the older adult ministry. And with that, we decided to start a boomer ministry for those born between 1946 and 1964. And so now what we have done, we have kind of merged both of them. We call it Boomers and Beyond. And we say it's for anybody 55 and better. I got that from Jimmy Buffett. So if you're 55 and better, we don't check IDs at the door. Anything we offer, you can come to it if you like it. On the back table, I have 3 things for you today if you don't have them. I have our Boomer and Beyond calendar for this year, all the events we've got scheduled. I've got a brochure that you can give to somebody back there. You take it with you. If you have some friends that want to know about Boomers and Beyond, it's a nice little pamphlet that tells everything. The third thing, you got to be quick on this. My wife, Rhonda, has put together this wonderful trip in November, the second week of November, 11th through the 15th, to Myrtle Beach. And it's going to be eating and shows, and Christmas shows, the whole week. And so we could take 40, anyways, I think we've got 8 spots left on it. I think 48, we can take a bus load. I think there's only like 8 spots left. So if you're interested in that, please get a brochure. Please get signed up soon, because it's going to fill up real soon. So I want you to take those home with you if you want those. Also, I do have an email that I send out usually monthly to everybody. If you're not receiving Boomers and Beyond email stuff and you want to, please give me send me your email, and I will add you to the list. So, what do? We have fuel classes. If you want to stretch, if you enjoy stretching, we have 2 different types of fuel classes. It's fuel for the body, mind, and spirit is what it stands for. And so we, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8:30, Barbara Lee leads a class that sits in chairs and does stretches for about, is it 45 minutes or an hour? About 45 minutes? Okay. And then 11 o'clock, I do a class for those a little more active. At 11, we sit in the chairs just a little bit. We get on the floor some, and we work out for about 45 minutes also, from 11 to 11:45. So those are free. Everything's free. All right. So we offer those. There's a lot of Bible studies here at the church. I do 2 specifically that are geared toward the Boomers and Beyond. One is Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m. in room 203. And then one is Thursday nights at 6 p.m. in room 203. And both classes study the exact same thing. A few years ago, I was doing 4 different ones with 4 different topics and 4 different things that were about to kill myself. I will, though, in the fall, in the springtime, I'm the voice of the Stadium Rebels for the baseball. And so I get to do all the freshman games, all the JV games, and I substitute for the guy who does the senior high games. And so my springs are pretty full, so I don't do a Wednesday night class. In the fall, though, I do a Wednesday night class in addition to the Tuesday morning and Thursday night. And love to have you all attend those. Majority of the time, they're video studies. They usually have a video with them. A lot of times we'll use Bill and Kip's sermon studies. So anyways, we have those. We do hikes. We do work days. We have a hike coming up, I think on April the 4th. We're going to up to Oak Mountain State Park, a real nice, easy one around the lake. So if you've never hiked before and want to do something real nice and easy, come with us. It's on that. It's 9 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday morning, and it's a lot of fun. We go to monthly movies at the Hoover Library. Vintage videos.
Good.
Yeah, we have fun with that.
Free popcorn.
Free popcorn, free candy, free movie, and free drinks. What more could you want? We meet over here at 1:30. We get in the bus, hop over to the Hoover Library at 2 o'clock. They show a vintage video for us, so that's a lot of fun. We've done mission trips to Costa Rica and Panama. We are now back at Costa Rica. I'm going to be offering one this coming October, the 12th through the 19th, and it's geared toward those 55 and better. So trust me on this. You are not going to be lifting heavy cement blocks. You're not going to be out in the middle of the sun just dying. It's a little cooler time of the year. They have a compound place out there. They always need some painting done. They always need some minor repair sort of things done. And they have a day school there that we can do some things with the children and stuff there too. So it's going to be more about relationship building, more about doing things that those of us who are over 55 can do. Some of these mission trips, a lot of times what I found is we go and they try to get us to do stuff that we struggle with. And you come back feeling worse about yourself than you did when you went over there. So this one is geared toward, it's not going to be anything major as far as physical stuff with it. So October 12th through the 19th. It should start running soon. We're going to, probably right after Easter, we'll start promoting. We started doing trips, well, two things. We started doing trips in 2001. And our first trip was to England. Our first hike was in 2002 to the Grand Canyon. And since then, we've done probably 25 trips or more to the Holy Land, to different places. And we probably did about 15 or 16 hikes around the nation. And we also hiked some over in the Holy Land. We did the Jesus Trail and some other, the Dove, the Valley of the Doves. We did that too. So we've hiked quite a few places. I don't actually like to hike. Funny story on that. I love the relationship stuff. I love spending time, especially with guys out there, middle of nowhere and all. But as far as the actual hike goes, I don't care about the hiking. That's hard work. But we've done the Grand Canyon at least twice. We've done almost every national park. The one I did not do was the Okefenokee Swamp. I said, y'all lost your mind on that. And they said they got eat up, down there with the bugs and everything like that. But a couple of them, I think, liked it. But anyways, we have a funny story on that very first trip we did to England. I went over because I was scared to death. I didn't know what I was doing. So they had this thing called a FAM trip, a familiarization trip, where a leader could go over with some other leaders and spend a few days. Not the whole thing. A few days, they show you where you're going to be and stuff. And on that trip, we went up to Liverpool. And when we were in Liverpool, you had two choices. You could go to the Beatles Museum or the Whalers Museum. Guess how many people went to the Beatles Museum?
Just you?
By myself. I said, you guys lost your mind. We're in Liverpool, England. This is the Beatles Museum. We don't care. We want to watch the whaling thing. I said, okay, bye. So it was incredible. It was such an incredible experience. We did all the Wesley stuff. When we arrived, my wonderful wife was with me. We had about 12 people. And this nice little lady, Catherine somebody, who was the writer that lived over here, little Miss Catherine. Anybody remember her name? Catherine. She lived across the street. Wrote poems. Was nationally known. Anyways, she had a pill her children told her to take. Guess when she took it? 30 minutes outside of Heathrow. She took her sleeping pill. She was maybe 80 pounds soaking wet, thank God. Could not wake her up. Could not wake the woman up. I carried her off the plane into Heathrow Airport, and I laid her down on a weight thing there. Well, we get there, and the company missed us. They took another group and forgot all about us. So we were there for 6 hours trying to get a bus or trying to get somebody lined up or whatever. Well, about 5 hours and 30 minutes into it, she wakes up and she goes, how you doing? So she went back on the next trip with us, and it was to Greece, I believe. And as soon as we got on the plane, she goes, look, Jim, I got my pill. Take it now. So anyways, we have had a lot of fun with our trips. We have gone a lot of different places. And there's this incredible thing that goes on every 10 years. If you've not heard about Over Amagau, it is the